Check the description for the following discount codes.
This is just a really quick video today to update you on a development with the Pimax Crystal. I'm going to assume that those of you still watching Pimax content are happy with the fact that it's big and heavy. So we'll move on from that and we'll just focus on the positives for those of you that are still considering buying one, in spite of the negatives. So we know Pimax have been working hard with the firmware and software updates to try and eliminate connectivity issues, which is what I had big problems with. But also, some of the features that it doesn't yet have, i.e. standalone mode, eye tracking, auto IPD, foveated, dynamic foveated rendering, none of this works yet. So I had an email from Pimax the other day saying, "Hi Carl, hope this message finds you well. I'm writing to tell you that we have now begun to open the beta version of all features for influencers." So by all features, I'm going to assume, because they don't list what it is, it just says all features, I'm going to assume that means standalone mode, because they've told me that that is due in September to go out to the masses. So I guess it would make sense to get it out to us early to have a little play with and give some feedback. And then of course, along with very important features for a high-end headset that you're charging higher money for, things like the eye tracking with the automatic IPD and the dynamic foveated rendering, and perhaps 120 hertz is actually, it was available anyway, but it didn't work very well. In fact, neither did foveated rendering, not even the fixed foveated rendering. So hopefully these additional features that they're, unlocking or begun to open to us will be close to, the sort of final implementation, because it should only be, what are we now, toward the end of August. So they said September for the public release of the standalone mode in an email to me. So it really must be very close. But yeah, it'd be great for me to be able to give you guys feedback early as to how these features are all working currently, which should be very close to, the final sort of release of these features, so to speak. And again, with Pimax, typically things are released with a lot of beta qualities even when they're released. So it'd be nice to see how these features and functionality come into play over the next few weeks. And the second part of this email says, however, we have noticed that there might be some potential issues with your current Crystal due to the lack of timely firmware upgrades. In order to ensure your productivity and minimize any possible inconvenience, we're planning to replace your current Crystal with a brand new version. So this is interesting, because does that mean the version that I had previously wasn't brand new, or wasn't the final version, or I don't know. It looked to all be, but regardless, they're sending me out another one. So it'll be interesting to see whether that has any of the connectivity issues that my current one has, and that was really the only problems I had with it, aside from the tracking for the controllers not being very good, of course. That I'm going to assume that's a software issue rather than physical problems with the cameras or the controllers, but it might not be. So these are all interesting things I'll be able to compare, having now had two Pimax Crystal headsets, both that are supposed to have been, new. I wasn't told the first one was like a beta release or was one that had been to other YouTubers. It was all packaged properly with the protective film still on everything, so it looked retail and it felt retail to open, except it had the DMAS headphones on. But yeah, due to the lack of timely firmware upgrades, I'm not sure what it means by timely firmware upgrades. I had lots of problems upgrading the firmware or updating the firmware on my Crystal. It took 30 or 40 attempts to get it to work both times that I had to do it. There was one firmware upgrade the moment I fired it up, and then a few weeks later there was another one. That's the one that's sorted out most of my connectivity issues on my AMD platforms. So I don't know whether it's because I was struggling to get the firmware updates to go in, that they're perhaps thinking, oh, maybe there's an issue with Carl's headset, maybe it's a dodgy USB-C port, because you use the USB-C port on the side of the headset to do your firmware upgrades. You don't use the one that's weirdly already plugged in along with your DisplayPort connector. There is a separate one for doing firmware upgrades on the side of the headset. Bit weird, but it is what it is. So maybe they think perhaps there's a problem with that, and so by sending me a new brand new, revision or version of the headset, that I might have more luck doing the firmware upgrades in the future, because it's in their best interest for everything to work as well as it can for people like myself, because we're the ones that are relaying to you what our experience is like. And that's also kind of funny when I think about Tyriel Wood and his video where they sent him one that just wouldn't work from the off. You wonder to yourself, did they actually try it out back at base before sending it out to him? Because that just literally didn't work, like full stop, and they had to send him another one. But yeah, I just thought I'd share this little update with you. For those of you that are still, thinking about a Pimax Crystal, I'm going to have all the features, or so it says here, to be able to play with over the next couple of weeks ahead of release, and I'm going to have a brand new Pimax Crystal to test all these features out on. So look forward to some more Crystal content from me. I know it feels like it's a bit of a Pimax Crystal channel at the moment, with the last few videos being about the Crystal, but it's it's popular right now. People want to know about it, so I have to cover it. I've also got other things here for sim racing primarily. I've got a new motion system from PT Actuator, so to compete directly with the D-Box entry level stuff. That's on loan to me from Race at Home. So that'll be coming up for review shortly. I've got a new entry-level cockpit from GT Amiga. Well, it's not new, it's a later revision of their ARC cockpit, so we're going to look at that, because it's still good to cover, the entry-level stuff. It's not all about high-end sim racing equipment. In fact, it's the opposite. What's most popular on my channel, and probably everyone else's, is the more entry to mid-range stuff, because the market and the audience is bigger for it. So yeah, there's a new GT Amiga ARC. It's got some additional bracing and an additionally braced pedal tray as well to make it a bit more sturdy. Some of you that have seen my art review from years ago and then followed my channel will have seen that I actually made a brace myself for that, which made a huge difference. So we'll see whether that's still a good entry level option, and just how much stiffer it is with their sort of factory bracing. Now, I've also got the La Prima wheelbase and pedals from Acertech here for review. So that will be coming up soon as well, along with other stuff making its way over to me. But anyway, waffling as always. I said it'd be a short video. What we at? Oh, that's 7 minutes 20. That is pretty short. So as always, thanks very much for watching, and take it easy.